Welcome back to Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, we have another returning guest. I feel like we kind of know each other for a while. We have Kelsey Pritchard. She's a communications director for Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. And today, we're going to be talking about in this segment the renewed debate around the Hyde Amendment. And after recent comments from President Donald Trump suggesting Republicans should be flexible on the policy, we're going to learn from her perspective. So first and foremost, Kelsey, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate your time. Can you kind of share first off for our listeners, our viewers, exactly what is the Hyde Amendment and why is this important?
Yeah, so the Hyde Amendment is something that the Congress can attach to a law so that Americans aren't footing the bill for elective abortions. And it's something that's been seen as a consensus position, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. If it's something that violates more than half of the conscience of Americans, it's not something that taxpayers should be footing the bill for. So it's been something that's long agreed upon. Obamacare was really the first time that there was a big departure from the Hyde Amendment. That law was passed in 2010 and did not include the Hyde Amendment. And now with all of these talks surrounding healthcare and should we extend Obamacare subsidies, there have been new proposals on the table that continue to not include the Hyde Amendment, continue to force Americans to fund abortions through subsidies to insurance plans. And so our position has been, we're not for or against the health reform. We're not even for or against Obamacare. We just are simply asking that Americans not be forced to fund elective abortions at any point in some states. And so that's why we've been so vocal about this and why we're so passionate.
Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something.
When you think about the reaction that your organization may have had after hearing President Donald Trump recently saying to Republicans to be a little bit flexible on Hyde, what was your organization's reaction and what do you think are the next important steps?
Yeah, we were shocked because it was President Trump himself who was a champion of the Hyde Amendment in his first administration and even in this administration. He even wanted to take action to make Hyde more permanent across the board. And for him to say Republicans need to be flexible on Hyde, that is a no-go for the pro-life movement. And I think the White House soon regretted his comment on that because the backlash has been swift. We've been united as the pro-life movement to say no way. We know that 6 in 10 Americans don't support being forced to fund abortions. So this isn't even just a popular pro-life thing. It's a popular thing across the board to support the Hyde Amendment. And so for him to suggest that we need to be flexible, that is completely unacceptable to us. It's completely unacceptable to the majority of people in this country.
If there are any critics out there who may suggest that voters don't care about this particular issue, what evidence will you point them towards to say that, no, pump the brakes, this is actually something that we care about?
Yeah, well, I would go back to that poll that people don't want to be forced to fund abortion. Like that is a popular thing. That's something that we run messaging on all the time because we know how it polls. And also we know that Republicans are going to pay the political price if they can't even do the bare minimum and protect the Hyde Amendment and further that in Obamacare or any healthcare proposal. We know had 1% to 2% of pro-lifers stayed home in the last election, Kamala Harris would be president, Donald Trump wouldn't be president. So if Republicans cease to be the pro-life party, they're going to lose their base and they're going to lose the midterms. And so this should be a cautionary tale, a warning to Republicans in Washington, D.C. who want to win re-election, especially to those in the Senate right now who they're the ones that are considering what to do on the healthcare front.
Once again, we're watching I'm Refocused Radio and watching this online, talking to Kelsey Pritchard, the communications director for Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. My next question for you is, when you kind of look at the stats again, you warned that even 1% to 2% drop in pro-life turnout could swing elections. Can you explain how those razor-thin margins really affect or potentially can affect the races?
Yeah, so we're investing $80 million into the midterms this year. And our strategy is to make sure that pro-life voters who don't usually show up to vote and vote for Republicans, for pro-life Republicans. And also for those who are persuadable, kind of on the line on the issue, for us to move the needle with them as well. So it makes our job increasingly hard if we're out there campaigning for these Republicans, if they're not even willing to do the basic minimum thing the pro-life movement is asking for. So we're doing our part, but Republicans, if they truly are pro-life, need to do their part and remain the pro-life party, because if the base doesn't show up in a hard midterm year like this for Republicans, they're in big trouble, and we can definitely count on having Democrat majorities in Washington.
Some Republicans argue that compromising on Hyde could help them appear more moderate to win swing voters. Why do you believe that's risky, and is there a potential backfire?
That's because a lot of moderates support the Hyde Amendment. This is something that's just so basic. We're not asking you to vote for a federal law outlawing abortion starting at conception. We are asking you to not force Americans to fund elective abortions in this country. And so if you lose even just a little bit of your base, those persuadables aren't going to make the difference, and you're not going to persuade them on this issue.
When you look at the opportunities to start early and help mobilize people who are pro-life, what is the window opportunity? What does that look like? And is time running out for the Republican Party?
Yeah, so we started last year, actually, in the middle of the year in the fall. We started going to some of these battleground states. We've been on the ground in Georgia and North Carolina and Michigan. Since then, we recently deployed in Iowa, and we were looking at a number of targets for House districts that we were going to send our field team to multiple states for that as well. And so we really look at these races where it's close, where a candidate is pro-life. But when something like this happens, we have to go back and reevaluate who we're supporting, and if we need to pull support, if people are going to be weak on the issue and vote with Democrats to abandon the Hyde Amendment.
You're reaching millions of voters, and you're doing that through digital ads and mail and canvassing. What are some of the recent feedback that you're hearing from pro-life voters, and what are they telling you right now?
I think we're hearing across the board that the movement is together on this, and people who are strong pro-life voters are together on this backlash toward the administration and the backlash toward any Republicans who want to compromise on the Hyde Amendment. So as disappointing as it's been to hear the Republican president say that kind of thing, and to see some Republicans on Capitol Hill be cowards on this, it has been a great rallying moment for the movement. And I think it has shown a lot of people in Washington the political force that the pro-life movement has. There's been this kind of narrative that we don't have that muscle anymore. And that's completely not true. Hence why we're going to be so involved in this election. Hence why we were in 8 battleground states the last election, and we're going to be in more this election. It's hopefully a warning and a reminder to the GOP, continue to be the pro-life party or face the political consequences.
If you could directly speak to a Republican leader today, right now, in this moment, what would you say is most at stake if they don't act on this, and not just from a supporter group perspective, from a moral perspective? What are some of the potential conflict that can come if they don't move?
Yeah, well, lives are at stake. If you are voting to fund elective abortions through taxpayer money, there will be more abortions in this country. The death rate will increase. The misery amongst women who have abortions will increase in this country. We've seen that. And unfortunately, abortion is the #1 cause of death in the United States. And they're just making the problem worse by compromising on something so basic that the Republicans and the majority of the American people want them to stand strong on.
Once again, listen on Refocused Radio and watching us online. Talking to our guest today, Kelsey Pritchard. She's Communications Director for Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. Last but not least, if people are watching this or listening to this on radio, where can they learn more about you and your organization?
Yeah, go to sbaprolife.org. You can check out the latest on the Hyde Amendment. You can see our scorecard on elected officials on Capitol Hill, and just read the news on where things are at on the abortion issue in the states and nationally.
Once again, I want to say to you, Kelsey, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. God bless.